Hey guys, smiling and I'm hanging out with Nigel on Christmas Eve, and we're about to embarrass ourselves. We're gonna sing. You ready?
Yeah.
Me. Sorry. You better watch out.
You better not cry.
You better not pout.
I'm telling you why.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Dope, dope, dope.
He's making a list and checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town.
December 24th, 2017 was supposed to be the beginning of a magical Christmas weekend for the Ross family. That evening, Anthony Milan Ross posted a cheerful video on Instagram showing himself and his 11-year-old son Nigel smiling broadly as they prepared to sing Santa Claus is Coming to Town together. Ross, a charismatic vegan chef and motivational speaker who had built a modest following through television appearances and social media, appeared relaxed and happy. "I'm smiling and hanging out with Nigel on Christmas Eve, and we are about to embarrass ourselves," Ross said, laughing warmly in the video. The pair then broke into song, their voices blending in an off-key but heartfelt rendition of the holiday classic. To anyone watching, they seemed like a normal father and son enjoying the holiday spirit, creating memories that would last a lifetime. But within 24 hours, that same father would murder Nigel, his 10-month-old daughter, Honora, and his estranged wife, Iris, transforming Christmas Day 2017 into one of Phoenix's most horrific domestic violence tragedies. Anthony Milan Ross was born in the late 1960s and grew up with aspirations that eventually led him into the culinary world. By his 40s, Ross had reinvented himself as a vegan chef, wellness advocate, and motivational speaker. His transformation from severe obesity to a healthier lifestyle became central to his public persona. Ross appeared on CBS's The Doctors, where he discussed plant-based diets and weight loss journeys. He was featured in the 2016 documentary Eating You Alive, which promoted veganism and plant-based nutrition as solutions to chronic illness. Ross cultivated an image of success, health, and happiness, presenting himself as someone who had conquered personal demons and emerged victorious. He wrote about nutrition, spoke at events, and built a social media presence that attracted followers interested in wellness and lifestyle change. But beneath this carefully curated exterior, Anthony Milan Ross was struggling with financial pressures, relationship turmoil, and what would later be described by his defense attorneys as severe mental health challenges. Iris Leah Ross, born Iris Sutherland, was 38 years old at the time of her death. She had been married to Anthony for over a decade, and together they had 2 children, Nigel, born in 2006, and Honora, born in early 2017. Friends and family described Iris as nurturing, hardworking, and devoted to her children. She worked to support the family financially, often serving as the primary breadwinner while Anthony pursued his culinary and wellness ventures. The marriage, however, had deteriorated over time. Court records show that Iris filed for divorce in 2017, seeking to end a relationship marked by growing tension and incompatibility. The divorce was finalized in September 2017, just 3 months before the murders. Despite the legal separation, custody arrangements remained fluid, and Anthony continued to have contact with the children. According to court documents, there was no documented history of domestic violence or child abuse prior to December 25, 2017, making the subsequent violence all the more shocking to those who knew the family. Nigel Ross was an 11-year-old boy attending school in Phoenix. Teachers and classmates remembered him as bright, kind, and thoughtful. He enjoyed music, playing video games, and spending time with his father. The Christmas Eve video showed a boy who appeared comfortable and happy in his father's presence, singing enthusiastically and laughing warmly. Honora Ross, just 10 months old, was an infant with her entire life ahead of her. Friends and family described her as a beautiful, joyful baby who brought light to everyone around her. In the months leading up to Christmas 2017, Anthony Milan Ross's life was unraveling. Prosecutors would later allege that Ross had become increasingly dependent on Iris's income to maintain his lifestyle and public image. His television appearances had slowed, speaking engagements were inconsistent, and the financial realities of life as a wellness entrepreneur were harsh. His 5 minutes of daytime TV fame was up. The money, the success, all a facade. And so was the perfect family. Maricopa County prosecutor Richard Dusterhoff told the jury during opening statements in September 2024. Digital forensic evidence presented at trial revealed disturbing internet searches conducted by Ross in the weeks before the murders. He researched firearms, battery acid, sulfuric acid, and searched for news stories about men who had killed their families on Christmas Day. Ross allegedly told people, "Expect something big on Christmas," a chilling statement that took on horrific meaning after the murders. Defense attorney Kerry Gallagher argued that these searches occurred during periods of severe mental health crisis, characterized by insomnia, paranoia, and deteriorating psychological stability. She noted that during the same period, Ross was also engaging in future-oriented activities. He proposed to a girlfriend 3 days before Christmas, adopted a dog, and made plans for upcoming projects. The defense suggested this indicated a person in crisis, not someone coldly planning murder, but prosecutors disagreed, arguing the searches demonstrated premeditation and intent. December 25, 2017 began quietly in Phoenix. The weather was mild, typical of an Arizona winter, with clear skies and temperatures in the 60s. Families across the city were opening presents, preparing holiday meals, and enjoying time together. At some point during the day, Iris Ross arrived at Anthony's apartment complex, likely to facilitate a custody exchange or visit involving the children. What should have been a routine interaction escalated into violence. According to witness statements provided to police, Anthony Milan Ross confronted Iris outside on the front patio of his apartment. Neighbors heard shouting, then the sharp crack of gunshots. Witnesses told officers they saw Ross shoot his estranged wife multiple times as she attempted to flee from him. Iris fell on the patio, mortally wounded. She was 38 years old, a mother of 2, killed on Christmas Day by the man she had once loved and married. After shooting Iris, Anthony Milan Ross returned inside his apartment where Nigel and Honora were present. Neighbors reported hearing 2 to 3 additional gunshots coming from inside the residence. Ross then barricaded himself inside, refusing to come out. Phoenix Police Department officers responded swiftly to multiple 911 calls reporting gunfire and a woman down outside the apartment complex. Upon arrival, officers discovered Iris's body on the front patio and established a perimeter around the building. They attempted to make contact with Ross, who was still inside with the children. Initially, Ross did not respond to police attempts at communication. As hours passed, negotiators worked to establish dialogue, hoping to secure the safe release of Nigel and Honora, but at some point during the standoff, Ross indicated to police that he had already killed both children. The situation then escalated dramatically. Ross began firing at Phoenix Police Department officers positioned outside the apartment. Officers returned fire in a brief but intense gun battle that lasted for several minutes. One officer was struck by shrapnel and taken to a nearby hospital in stable condition. Eventually, after an hours-long standoff that stretched into the night, tactical teams moved in and took Ross into custody. He was not injured during the exchange of gunfire. Officers entered the apartment and made the grim discovery of 2 young bodies. 11-year-old Nigel Ross and 10-month-old Honora Ross had both been shot to death by their father. The children were found in different rooms inside the residence, each having been killed execution style. The scene was described by responding officers as one of the most disturbing they had ever encountered. The bodies of 3 family members, a mother and her 2 young children, lay dead on Christmas Day, victims of a man who less than 24 hours earlier had been singing holiday songs and projecting an image of joy and normality. Anthony Milan Ross was arrested and booked into the Maricopa County Jail on December 25, 2017. He was initially charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 19 counts of aggravated assault on a peace officer, and additional firearms-related charges. Prosecutors announced they would be seeking the death penalty, given the premeditated nature of the crimes, the murder of children, and the aggravated circumstances. Ross was held without bond pending trial. A status conference was scheduled for January 3rd, 2018, and a preliminary hearing for January 5th, 2018. Ross did not speak publicly about the murders in the immediate aftermath, and it was unclear whether he had retained legal counsel. The community of Phoenix reacted with horror and grief. Vigils were held for Iris, Nigel, and Honora. A GoFundMe page was established to help cover funeral expenses and support extended family members. Tributes poured in on social media, with friends and acquaintances struggling to reconcile the public persona of Anthony Milan Ross, the smiling, motivational vegan chef, and the brutal reality of what he had done. Many expressed disbelief that someone who promoted wellness and positive transformation could commit such violence. The Christmas Eve video of Ross and Nigel singing together circulated widely online, serving as a haunting reminder of how quickly life can change and how misleading appearances can be. The legal proceedings moved slowly, as is typical in capital murder cases. Ross's defense team argued that their client suffered from severe mental illness, including periods of post-psychosis, insomnia, and delusional thinking. They sought psychiatric evaluations and raised questions about his competency to stand trial. Prosecutors, however, maintained that Ross was fully aware of his actions, had planned the murders in advance, and deserved the harshest possible punishment. The case wound through the Maricopa County court system for nearly 70 years as both sides prepared for trial, conducted discovery, and argued pretrial motions. In September 2024, the murder trial of Anthony Milan Ross finally began. Opening statements painted starkly different pictures of the defendant. For a true crime documentary, prosecutor Richard Dusterhoft emphasized Ross's celebrity status as a vegan chef and public figure, arguing that his image was a carefully constructed facade, hiding financial failure, narcissism, and rage. He thought about it before he did it. He meant to do it, and then he did it. Why? Dusterhoft asked the jury. The prosecutor detailed Ross's internet searches for weapons and acid, his alleged statements about something big happening on Christmas, and his dependency on Iris's income to maintain his lifestyle. Defense attorney Carrie Gallagher countered that Ross was a deeply troubled man suffering from untreated mental illness. She highlighted his erratic behavior, poor sleep, and periods of cognitive impairment in the weeks before the murders. Gallagher pointed to Ross's engagement to a girlfriend and adoption of a dog just days before Christmas as evidence that he was planning for the future, not planning a murder. The defense argued that Ross experienced a psychotic break on December 25, 2017, and was not in control of his actions. The trial lasted several weeks, with testimony from forensic experts, law enforcement officers, neighbors who witnessed parts of the incident, and mental health professionals. The jury heard evidence about the ballistics, the timeline of events, and the devastating impact on the surviving family members. On Monday, November 3rd, 2025, after deliberating, the Maricopa County jury returned its verdict. Anthony Milan Ross, now 53 years old, was found guilty on all counts. 3 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Iris, Nigel, and Honora Ross. He was also convicted of 3 counts of aggravated assault related to the killings and 17 counts of aggravated assault on a peace officer for shooting at Phoenix police during the standoff. The conviction carried an automatic sentence of life in prison, with the possibility of the death penalty to be determined in a subsequent penalty phase. The guilty verdict brought a measure of justice for the victims' family members, though it could never restore what was lost. Iris, Nigel, and Honora were gone, their lives stolen on a day meant for celebration and togetherness. The case highlighted the often hidden complexities of domestic violence, the dangers of untreated mental illness, and the tragic consequences when warning signs are missed or ignored. It also served as a sobering reminder that public personas can mask private turmoil, and that appearances of success and happiness can conceal desperation and rage. As the sentencing phase approaches, questions remain about what drove Anthony Milan Ross to commit such unspeakable acts. Was it financial desperation, a narcissistic inability to accept the end of his marriage and the collapse of his public image, or a genuine mental health crisis? The answers may never fully satisfy those seeking to understand the incomprehensible. What is certain is that 3 innocent people, a devoted mother and her 2 young children, lost their lives on Christmas Day 2017, and a community was left to grapple with the aftermath of a tragedy that should never have happened. Go watch this case here of an illegal truck driver that ended 3 lives.